Are we going to those this year?
They did not call and offer us. We put in for our badges, but they. I think when the last phone call I had, the person I was talking to, I heard him laughing as he hung up the phone. So I don't think we're going.
If you'll do us a favor and hit that subscribe button.
Right.
It's time for the Brew and Shavers Sports Podcast.
Darren, have you ever said anything that you didn't really mean?
Well, yes, obviously I have. Wouldn't sit here and say that I haven't, but maybe not on the level and as publicly as some other people.
Most of the time when that happens to folks like us, we're not in front of a national audience,
Yeah, exactly.
Television audience, being asked questions by reporters. But in the case of Jim Schlossnagle, that happened. After 3 seasons with the Texas A&M, second most wins in program history, and vehemently asserting that he was not going to leave A&M for any other job, that he left his family to go at A&M, and that the reporter asking such a question about him leaving for Texas was selfish of that reporter. Reports are coming out, as far as we can tell, trying to confirm it through multiple media outlets, that he is indeed going to Texas, where he will rejoin Chris Del Conte, his athletic director at TCU. Darren, there's a lot here.
Yeah.
Where do you start? You want to start with what he said?
Yeah, to me, the most incredible part of that is calling someone out, calling him selfish. Even took him down on a level of saying, I can't remember his last name, but that's the same as asking Braden, the player that had been hurt, if he was going to go in the draft. It's such a to just continue to dig and take that shot of how awful that person is for asking that question when everybody has their opinion about asking a question like that in the middle of a post-game press conference where you just lost a national championship. I understand that it might not be the most optimal time, but that being said, you're talking about over the top ridiculous. I guess what we've learned today, if all the reports are true, is maybe he was caught off guard, was a little agitated. He didn't think he'd be asked in the post-game press conference and would just be able to move past it. Maybe that's where it came from. But no matter where he came from, there were 1,000 ways that he could have answered that question and it not come across that way. And he ignored all of them. That's the amazing thing to me about it. It's just really unreal that he took that path. I mean, obviously he knew he was going, even if there wasn't a deal signed or whatever. Obviously he knew he was going. I would think.
Yeah, he's been coaching long enough to know how all this unfolds.
Yep.
What I would say to A&M fans right now, who many are extremely upset and
very angry,
and they have a right to be angry and upset. On one hand, if he doesn't want to be there, then you don't want him there.
Absolutely.
But I think the thing that was so egregious on his part was the way he treated that reporter.
Yep.
He could have said, as we talked about before the show, Darren, look, I don't want to take the spotlight off the guys and the great season they had. We came close to winning the College World Series, came up short. These guys had a season for the record books. I'm so proud of this team, and I'll have more to say later about my future.
Yep.
But the way that he handled that, I don't know how he has any credibility in talking to anybody.
Agree completely.
It was poorly handled, and I think the right thing to do in this situation, it won't, it's not going to undo the hurt that's been done, but I think he needs to apologize to that reporter. He needs to apologize to all the Texas A&M fans because he he was so vehement and so worded it so strongly
Yeah.
that it comes across as a classic example of dishonesty. And
Yep.
if someone can do that, how do you believe anything that comes out of their mouth?
And for him to go as far as to say, I took this job knowing it was the last job I would take or whatever, I may be word salading that a little bit, but somewhere in that neighborhood is what he said. If I'm a parent, as a parent, and my child is 17, 18 years old, being recruited by the University of Texas 2 or 3 years from now, you're going to ask questions about, are you going to be here for 3 years? Are you going to be here for 4 years? Because you're wanting what's best for your child. And he says, no, I took this job because it's the only place I want to be. Yeah, heard that before. I mean, he really put himself in a tough spot.
He did.
It's not well done at all. And to just very briefly go back to what you said about Texas A&M fans, if he doesn't want to be there, you don't want him there. There is nothing else A&M could have done. You've got top-notch facilities. He's one of the top. I think he was number 6, so he's in the upper half of the conference in pay. I think he's just under Tony Vitello in pay, at least for the 2024 season or 23-24 season. He is able to obviously recruit. There's nothing holding him back from being able to recruit and get the players he wants to recruit. And he's been winning. You just went to the national championship game. As a school, as a fan base, everything's been done to put him in a position to be successful and be paid well while doing it, on baseball coaching terms, be paid well while doing it. And he still chose to go somewhere else. So obviously he didn't want to be there. It's painful right now. It's going to hurt, but let him. The flip side of that coin, everything that you did for Jim Schlossnagle will be done for the next coach that comes in. So it's going to be okay. You're Texas A&M and it's baseball. You're going to be okay.
Losing a coach who's had success is painful.
Yeah.
It makes it even worse when the coach does what Schlossnagle did.
Absolutely.
And I hope at some point he addresses it. He may think he never has to address it. And
yeah, that could be.
And I think that's a very sad commentary because it comes down to a character issue. I don't believe for one second that he was surprised by that question. The rumor mill had been churning. He's been coaching. He's not a rookie coach.
Yeah, not his first rodeo. Right?
He's a veteran coach. That question's coming.
Yeah.
And your emotions may have been raw after losing that final game and being so close within a run of tying, 2 runs of winning.
Yep.
And I know those are difficult moments when reporters are throwing questions at you and you just want to get out of there because your team just lost. You don't want to be. But I think the right thing for him to do for credibility's sake, as an attempt, he can't really right the wrong, but as an attempt to just do the right thing and apologize, say, I shouldn't have said the things that I said. Maybe he could say he was emotional. He wasn't thinking through it. He
right.
All those things are fine. And everybody will eventually move on from this. A&M will hire a new coach and the fan base will move on from Schlossnagle. Although every time these schools play, since Texas is now in the SEC, it heightens that rivalry, doesn't it?
Just when you thought that rivalry was enough of a rivalry, here we go. I mean, that's wow. Because we're used to things in SEC terms, old school. This is literally the equivalent of the Alabama football coach saying he's not going anywhere and then leaving to go to Tennessee. I mean, it really is from the A&M fan base's emotions. That really is the equivalent of what just happened. And now here we go. They're going to be playing each other every year again. Wow.
This, as an LSU fan, I can relate to what A&M fans are feeling.
Yep.
When Nick Saban left to go to the Miami Dolphins, won a national championship at LSU. He was in a great position, wanted to try the NFL, and none of us ever dreamed that if he got back into college coaching, he'd go to Alabama.
Right, absolutely.
And so there is that the emotions. He betrayed us. How could you go to Alabama? And I don't LSU and Alabama is a fierce rivalry, but I don't know if it's as fierce as A&M and Texas.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, this is throwing an enormous amount of gasoline on what is already a bonfire. I mean, this is this is not just a little bit of gasoline on a little bitty. This is not rubbing two sticks together. This is napalm on a bonfire. Is what just happened.
Well, let's move on from the Texas and Texas A&M drama, and let's talk a little bit about Charlie Condon from Georgia, racking up some postseason awards, Darren.
Oh, yeah. He, pulled off a pretty important, I guess, dual award selection, as you would say it. He has won the Dick Hauser Trophy for the most outstanding baseball player, American baseball player. And then the Golden Spikes Award now is something that he can also claim. And, this is an award that has went to, people that not only were great in college, but have had incredible pro careers. So this is a really, really big deal award to get a Golden Spikes Award. And man, when you look at his stats, I know there's some really, really good players this year, and you cannot argue that. There were some incredible players on every single team, including the two teams that played on Monday night for the national championship. There's some great players on both sides, batting and in the field, pitching, however you want to look at it. But 433 batting average for the season, 37 home runs, 78 RBIs. He had a over 500 on base percentage, over 1,000 on base percentage, and his OBPS, on base plus slugging, was over 1,500. Wow. Those are insane numbers. I mean, no matter how good everybody else was, this guy has to be the Golden Spikes Award winner numbers. I mean, those are just, I remember watching not necessarily college ball as much growing up, but pro ball. And, when guys were hitting 275, it was talked about that guy's having a good year. I know things are a little bit different now, but especially in the college game, but still 433 for a season in the SEC. That's absolutely insane. So congratulations to him. Both awards very, very deserved. And you can't help but believe it's going to translate to an incredible pro career. I'd be shocked if it doesn't.
Great player. Congratulations to Charlie Condon.
Yep.
Speaking of baseball, let's jump right into the biggest news, and that is the Tennessee Volunteers have won their first ever Men's College World Series, defeating Texas A&M 6-5 in a thrilling what turned out to be a 3-game series.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun to watch. But before we get into the specifics on Tennessee, Darren, just a little bit of information about the SEC at Omaha. This is the 5th SEC team to win a championship in a row.
That's
5
awesome.
in a row.
That's awesome.
All by different schools.
Awesome.
Out of the last 15 College World Series championships, 10 of them have been won by SEC schools.
Wow.
And Tennessee has become the 8th SEC school to win a national championship in baseball. So congratulations to Tennessee, Darren. I know you've been waiting to hear this all day. So I'm just going to play it for you. So Brandon wasn't able to be here with us tonight. Brandon, who's been on the show before, is a huge Tennessee fan, and he was celebrating last night. It didn't work out schedule-wise for him to join us tonight, but I wanted to make sure in his honor that we played Rocky Top just for you, Darren.
Well, you know what? Just because it was for Brandon and he's always been so nice to be on the show with us, I'll live with it. I still don't like it, but I'll live with it.
Let's talk about a few of the players that really stood out for Tennessee. The play that got the most attention, I think, last night was Hunter Easley's slide to come home to avoid the tag of the A&M catcher. That proved to be the deciding run. And Darren, that was played over and over. It went to official review. When you watch that play over and over, what do you think? Was it a combination of a remarkable play by Easley and just maybe a bad play by the A&M catcher, or was it just Easley making a heck of a play in that moment?
I think he just made a heck of a play. I saw an interview earlier today at some point or maybe just like a news report where he had been interviewed. I think it was even by like the Knox News Sentinel or, one of the local papers there in Knoxville, that he was just he wasn't obviously thinking about, making this incredible avoiding the tag. He was trying to get back to the inside of the plate. That was that was the place he was trying to get to. And then made the move to avoid the tag once he saw what was going on. Because I think the Tennessee catcher, or I'm sorry, the A&M catcher, just did not think he was going to make that move back to the inside of the plate. I thought he thought he was just going to slide directly from where he was, which is not a low baseball IQ assumption. It's not like he had lost his mind or anything there for a minute. It's a pretty good assumption that's what's going to happen, that he's just going to slide right there in that spot. So I think he just made a heads up play, felt like getting back to the inside of the plate was what's going to serve him well because of where the catcher's, where the glove was and where he caught the ball. And what an incredible evasive move to stay away from that tag. And honestly, I think the one mistake that the A&M catcher made was getting up and tagging him afterwards. I think that made the review even more obvious that he didn't. I think if he'd just kind of left it alone, but I also understand from his perspective, he was hoping he missed the bag. He missed the plate. He was hoping, in being evasive, his hand hadn't caught the plate and he was going to be able to tag him and get him out right there. So I understand what he was doing, but I think that was the only thing he really did that truly hurt the moment and gave the replay no chance whatsoever. But what an incredible play.
Yeah, and that's something you're taught as a kid playing Little League Baseball.
Absolutely.
When you have a close play at the plate, go ahead and tag him.
Yep.
You never know. And he didn't know. And like you said, I think you hit it right on the head, Darren. There was that hope that maybe replay showed that his hand didn't hit home plate. And so that was I understand that really ruined it as far as replay.
As far as the replay.
But that was the smart play to play.
Absolutely.
Or to make. And I think your point about that he was lined up fully intending or expecting Easley to come that direction.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes guys make great plays, and Easley made a tremendous play. Yep. So I don't think you can really fault the A&M catcher for that play.
No. I agree completely.
Another Tennessee player that had a terrific series was Dylan Dreiling.
Oh, yeah.
3 home runs, 1 in each game. That's the first time that's ever been done, Darren.
It's pretty incredible.
What an incredible series for him.
Yep. And he had, with those 3 home runs, he had 7 RBIs. And he had more RBIs in his appearances at the plate than the top half of the A&M batting order combined during the 3 games. So his 7 RBIs were more than 1 through 4 for A&M in all 3 games combined. It's pretty incredible. It's a pretty amazing feat to be able to and to hit a home run in each game. Well, you're talking about seeing the ball. I mean, obviously he was. He just had those moments, but what an incredible accomplishment. Not just the RBI or not just the home runs, but the fact that it led to 7 RBIs. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking about making a difference in a game, because it's still an incredible accomplishment, just 3 home runs. But if they were all solo home runs, it's a totally different conversation. I mean, they were pivotal runs in every single, or at least game 2 and 3. They ended up not really making a difference in game 1, but but in games 2 and 3, I mean, they were necessary. They were runs that they needed. So incredible by him.
Great series.
Yep.
again, congratulations to Tennessee fans. Enjoy this first ever Men's College World Series championship. Tony Vitello, great job this year. And what a treat. Who you got to see? Rick Barnes and Josh Heupel were there. Peyton Manning. Morgan.
Were they at the game? Was that brought up? I didn't.
Morgan Wallen was there.
Yep.
I think I saw Josh Heupel talking to Morgan Wallen saying, "Hey, I want to talk to you a little bit about that arm. I saw you."
I thought he was telling him that these are attached. You can't pick these chairs up.
We shouldn't have gone there.
We kid.
I'm sure Peyton is a good influence on him, and we'll think the best.
The I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember which one it was, but the bar where that happened in Nashville now has a plaque up on that third floor that says, if you're looking at the chairs, don't even think about it. You're not Morgan Wallen. Pretty good move. Pretty good move on their part.
Well played.
Yep.
We started this show talking about people that just make stupid mistakes in the heat of the moment, and there's another one.
There's one more. Yep.
So speaking of someone that did not make a mistake, let's go over to Norman, Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Who announced an extension for Brent Venables, who is slowly turning the Sooner program back around. Mm-hmm. We've talked before, Darren, we believe that Oklahoma has its man. So this was, I think it was good to see them saying to Venables, let's go ahead and extend your contract. It's a great move to make in terms of recruiting, because there's always that, like what we talked about with Schlossnagle. Is this guy going to leave, or is this guy going to get fired?
Yep.
And so I think this is a good move for Oklahoma. What about you? What do you think, Darren?
I do think it's a good move, and I think he is the right guy. They even in the initial press conference when he was announced, there was the conversation was about, this is the guy who's going to lead our program in the right direction and going to, in so many words, not an exact quote, but going to bring back the Oklahoma defense that we're accustomed to, make us a strong defensive program. And so obviously they still believe that. First year, kind of tough, but last year finished 10-3. So obviously that's, you add 4 wins from year 1 to year 2. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Nobody's upset about that. But I do think this has a whole lot to do with, I think you nailed it. This is, let's put ourselves in a better place now that we're recruiting in the SEC. Let's remove one more thing from the table. We believe he's our guy. No conversation is necessary about, is this coach going to be here? Yes, he's going to be here. So here's the deal. We'll add 2 years to the end of what contract already existed. And I think his pay is not a huge jump. I feel like it was like
it didn't break the bank.
Yeah, and but I think it's like $250,000 or something a year that jumped up. But there's obviously incentives and stuff like that. So that's what it was. It was $1.35 million a year. What is added on now for the entirety of the contract. So still, I mean, wouldn't hurt my feelings. I'm not saying it's chump change, but he's not hurt my feelings if that was added to my salary. But still not this just enormous, like you said. It's not this enormous, like all of a sudden he's now the most paid coach in the SEC or anything like that. But still helped him out, added security for him, and put them in a better position from a recruiting perspective. A lot of people, I think, were very unsure about it. Thought it was kind of weird. Where does this come from? But I don't think it's a bad move. I think it's a smart play by the Oklahoma Athletic Department.
Agree. Venables is locked in at OU as they head into their first season in the SEC. And they are hosting some power hitters coming to Norman, and they're going to some tough places to play.
And we are, let's see, what are we? 60-ish days. I don't know. You can look. I think it's usually up above my head.
It is. I'm having trouble seeing because
me too.
I don't have a heat wave of heat indexes of over 100 degrees.
And I don't have my glasses on, so I can make out the 6. How's that?
Good move by OU. As we wrap up the show, one more thing before we wrap up, and that is SEC Media Days are coming up, aren't they, Darren? What, about 15 days away?
About 15, I think 20 days. July 15th, I believe. Monday, July 15th is when they start.
All right.
So it'll be a good time. We're almost there.
Are we going to those this year?
They did not call and offer us. We put in for our badges, but they. I think when the last phone call I had, the person I was talking to, I heard him laughing as he hung up the phone. So I don't think we're going.
If you'll do us a favor and hit that subscribe button, we got to get the number of subscribers up. Because right now, as Darren said, we call the SEC and we just get a little ha 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 click.
There's been no restraining order. We've been respectful. We haven't.
We want to wrap up this episode with a tribute to one of the greatest baseball players ever in the history of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Willie Mays left us on June 18th, 2024. A center fielder for 23 years. His career began with the Birmingham Black Barons, and then he played for the New York/San Francisco Giants, and I believe his career ended with the New York Mets. Over the span of 23 seasons as a center fielder, Willie Mays hit 660 home runs, 1,909 RBIs, 3,293 hits, a batting average of .301, 24-time All-Star, 1954 World Series champ, 2-time NL MVP. His number 24 was retired by San Francisco. And in 1979, he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame on the first ballot with 94.7% of votes. Truly one of the greatest to ever play the game.
Yeah. And I mean, all of his stats are so incredible, but think about that in what we watch today as the modern professional baseball product. 23 years. How incredible is that? I mean, that is absolutely unreal. And obviously 23 years doing it well to be up over 600 home runs. I mean, it wasn't, he was doing it right the whole time. So really, really an incredible thing. Very sad to lose him. But what an incredible career. What an amazing thing to be able to celebrate, even though the majority of it for us was more highlights from the past, but still you knew who Willie Mays was. You saw the highlights. You knew how incredible his career was.
And he stayed connected to the game.
Yep.
When news of his death broke, it was an eye-opener for me to read about current players who were in contact with him over the years, who talked to him and still looked up to him. He was still revered as one of the greats of the game. The Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays, will be missed.
As a swing, a long drive to deep left center field, and you can tell it. Bye-bye, baby! And the fans go wild.
Thank you for making the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast your go-to sports show. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our show if you haven't already. Your feedback is important. Let us know what you think about this week's show. Send an email to brewandshavers@gmail.com or text to our text line 318-390-3599. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again for listening to the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast. See you next week.